A huge debut for ROH, plus AEW not signing a former WWE star despite the rumors that this person was signing. And yes, we are going to talk about some great news for TNA and ticket sales. Welcome back to the Ango Show, ladies and gentlemen. Just a couple days away from Christmas, but you know, we got to keep the grind going. So is TNA. Some really cool news. WrestleTix came out with an update for TNA. Now, if you guys didn't know, TNA is running two big arenas that they announced in 2025. This one right here is the UBS arena, which is a very aggressive goal. So right now, TNA has it set up for 4,000 tickets. Now, granted, if TNA starts selling more and more tickets, guess what? They have the whole arena that they're going to open up. Now, they just did their pre-sale. This is the first update after the pre-sale, and TNA has sold 1,500 plus tickets, 1,556 to be exact. Now, this is not on the same scale as AEW and WWE, but you got to remember that this event doesn't take place until July 20th of 2025. So there is several months until TNA has this event. Keep in mind, TNA has not announced who's signing to the company, which we do know. We can confirm that there's going to be some new signings. We don't know if WWE will have any involvement. We don't know if AJ Styles will have any involvement. But granted, 1,500 tickets so far is relatively awesome. Now, the whole setup is 4,100 tickets. And right now they have about 2,500 left to go. Now, this is going to be a very bold prediction, but I do have a very strong feeling that TNA would not have announced UBS Arena unless they have some tricks up their sleeve. Now, a couple things that I want to remind you guys with. Again, they're not on the same scale as AEW or WWE, but in this particular situation, with them having such an aggressive goal and doing such a larger arena and going for more tickets than they typically would do, the fact that there's even this much interest on pre-sale is a good indicator that eventually it will fill up. Because eventually, I don't know if you guys pay attention to this kind of thing. I obviously do. I've gone to so many TNA events. You know, Bound for Glory had over 3,000, I would say maybe even 4,000 people in attendance. And a lot of that was a late surge in tickets, which is completely fine. One thing that is really helpful for TNA is the fact that the tickets are relatively inexpensive. And as you can see here, there are two sales that they are running. So military family friend, you could get a discounted price, or you could do buy three, get the fourth ticket for free. So this is like a really cool thing that TNA is doing. Obviously, I'm not expecting TNA to sell 19,000 tickets at UBS Arena. However, if TNA could sell 4,100, or if they could even get to 5,000, that would be a great success for this company. You got to remember, under Anthem, it took them a very long time to start getting ticket sales. So this is a really, really good thing for TNA. And as a wrestling fan, you should all hope that TNA could sell as many tickets as possible here, just because that is a very, very healthy thing for the industry. Okay, so we saw Matt Cardona lose against Chris Jericho. And a lot of people have been wondering what is going on with Matt Cardona and his contract situation. And this is the one that always intrigues me the most, largely due to the fact that Matt Cardona has been rumored to sign with WWE. Then he hasn't shown up in WWE. Then there's rumors that he's signing to AEW and that he was offered a contract. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select offered a lot of clarification here. He says there have been rumors that he has been offered a contract, but I don't know if that is to be true or whatever the case may be. He has told people he wasn't signed and was not signing as of right now with AEW. The details on that are very few and far between. Now, Sean Ross Sapp adds a little bit more of an intriguing aspect to this story, because he addressed the idea as to whether or not GCW and AEW were working together. And Sean Ross Sapp actually shoots this theory down completely. He says not necessarily. GCW is not. They haven't signed Matt Cardona. Nobody in GCW is signed to some sort of contract. basically Matt Cardona works for GCW, but it's like a per appearance deal type of thing. So there's not an actual storyline between GCW and AEW that's going, and it's not necessarily a partnership of any kind, which I think also adds clarity as to what everybody was thinking. Okay, what about the Ricky Starks situation? What about Willie Mack's situation where these guys were pulled from GCW? Why was Matt Cardona able to work AEW ROH? Well, the reality is Matt Cardona did that because that's himself. GCW in this particular case, because they don't sign people, that's the reason why there isn't like some sort of formal partnership between the two. So the fact that Matt Cardona has not signed and isn't signing with AEW is very interesting. I think Matt Cardona wants to be back in WWE. That's what I think. There's been too many rumors of him coming to WWE. There's been too many rumors of him signing with WWE. I don't know what the situation is, and I can't speak for Matt Cardona. I can't speak for WWE. I can't speak for AEW, but my own personal opinion is that Matt Cardona probably would rather be in WWE right now, largely due to the fact that Chelsea Green is also there. But also at the same time, too, I don't think right now is the perfect time for him to join WWE or AEW for that matter. To be very honest, with both companies, there's just a lot going on. It's kind of hard to just fit him in there. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, he's saying that he is not signed to AEW. And that brings us to Homicide. Now, guys, if you know anything about professional wrestling and the history of ROH, the history of TNA, the history of CZW and Dragon Gate, and I feel like there's so many more that I'm missing at this point. But Homicide is a longtime veteran of the business, really did some great stuff with Ring of Honor back in the day. He even came back to Ring of Honor at one point when it was owned by St. Clair. We've seen him once on AEW Rampage. Well, now at the Ring of Honor tapings, he shocked the entire world. Tony Khan has brought him in. And we don't know what the storyline is. I'm not going to leak it to you guys. I'm not going to give you guys some sort of spoilers or something like that. But it appears that he is back in Ring of Honor, and under this new version of ROH, he has made his debut. So Homicide is always going to be tied to TNA. He's always going to be tied to Ring of Honor. I mean, that's just, everybody knows that. I feel like the first time that he left ROH, and I'm scratching my head because it's really going to bother me that I can't remember the timetable. I want to say it was right before he came back to TNA, or before he went to TNA, but he was the world champion in ROH, and then he defended it against Bryan Danielson, actually, which is really interesting. Or I think he beat Bryan Danielson. I can't remember exactly. I don't remember if he beat Bryan Danielson or if he retained against Bryan Danielson, but I want to say he beat Bryan Danielson to become ROH world champion. So this is like one of those things where he's always going to be etched in the history books for Ring of Honor. And then eventually came back when Sinclair was owning it. Obviously, St. Clair Broadcasting they weren't that great with the Ring of Honor product. I don't think they really understood professional wrestling. But at the same time, too, Homicide being back and now making his debut for Tony Khan's version of Ring of Honor is very exciting. It's a very huge debut. He's very much part of the history of Ring of Honor, so it's cool to see that. I'm excited for the future of Ring of Honor. I look forward to seeing what they do, but only time will tell.